My grandfather, Chester T. French, was born in 1882 in East Tennessee. The family lived on a farm and there were 11 children. And he went to Maryville College where he played basketball and football. And he was actually quite a star in sports. And he got his teaching certificate and then he began teaching in a one-room schoolhouse. And while he was teaching, he found out that his brother, Jesse, had tuberculosis. In that time, all they knew to do was to go to a dry climate. So he quit his teaching job and he took his brother on the train and brought him to Albuquerque, New Mexico. They lived on a small piece of land on a farm on North 12th Street in a tent. And he worked for a lumber company and took care of his brother. But he also got a job digging graves in Fairview Cemetery for a Strong Funeral Home. And that was where he was introduced to the profession of funeral service. And then 3 years later, his brother died of tuberculosis, and he was the one to take his brother back to Tennessee. So after he took his brother back to Tennessee to be buried, he moved to New York to go to school to get his embalming license so he could come back to New Mexico and go into the business. And in 1907, he started French. He purchased that business for $4,999, huge amount. He was there for a number of years and then he decided to move to another building on 4th and Gold. And he called it the French Building. And then he decided to move to Grand Avenue. That building was taken over and condemned when I-25 was built in the late 50s. And he had to move, and so he purchased the land at 1111 University Boulevard Northeast. In the late 20s, my grandfather went to California and saw Forest Lawn. And it was so beautiful because all the markers were flat and it had a park-like appearance. So he decided he wanted something like that in Albuquerque. So in 1929, he started Sunset Memorial Park. He purchased some land at Manal and Edith in 1929 and then opened Sunset Memorial Park in 1930. And early on he began putting together the necessary finances to establish an endowed care fund that would help perpetuate and keep that cemetery beautiful for many years to come. He felt a great sense of responsibility to the community. And he got involved in so many different ways. He had a flower garden. He taught a Sunday school class for over 40 years at First Methodist Church. Later, he started the French Boy Choir, which actually is still in existence today. It's now called the Albuquerque Boy Choir. Literally, hundreds of boys have learned music through the choir. He wanted to help others like he had been helped himself. And that's kind of the way he lived. He lived outwardly rather than it all being about him. When he discovered something, he wanted to make a gift to the people around him, to the community, to make it all better. In 1966, I got a call from my grandfather, and he told me he wanted me to move to Albuquerque to go in funeral service with him. Now, I loved my grandfather very much. I wasn't really sure that's what I wanted to do, but I decided to come to Albuquerque for a year. And toward the end of that time, I began to realize that funeral service was really a calling for me. And so I had to go to school. So I moved to Dallas, Texas in order to become licensed. Finished the school. I moved back to Albuquerque on September the 3rd, 1966. And about 3 weeks later, he ran a full-page ad in the newspaper announcing our partnership. And then 3 days after that, he died very suddenly. I had a huge responsibility at a very young age. And I can still remember trying to shave that morning when I found out that he would die, and I was shaking because it was a really scary thing for me at a very young age. It was also a great opportunity as well, and the next few years were really difficult in many ways because I was very young and inexperienced, but fortunately I got help from the people in this organization. We formed a team, and the business gradually began to grow over time.
Every day we have the privilege of serving, of caring, and of remembering. We believe it's important to remember that a life has been lived. A tiny baby, a soldier, a mom, a dad, a life partner. We serve and care for the families in our community, and we lay to rest their loved ones.
The neat thing about this job is you don't do the same thing every day. You don't meet with the same people. Every situation is kind of an adventure. And what a blessing to meet and kind of get to know them and listen to their passions and their love for their mom or their dad, whoever it is we're taking care of.
Every person in the company, regardless of their position, is considered a professional and considered an integral part of what it takes to serve families in multiple different ways, whether it's pets, whether it's families, whether it's pre-need, cemetery, whatever the case may be. There is a sense of oneness, that we are one company, one people serving one family at a time, and it's very integrated, and that adds to this sense of being able to accomplish, being able to serve at very high levels.
These are great people at every level, from the Stewart family all the way through to the groundskeepers in our company, who want to do well, they want to serve, they want to help, and there's nothing like coming to work and being fulfilled, knowing that, number one, I'm making a big difference, and I'm gonna go home tonight and know that, but number two, I'm doing it alongside of phenomenal people, and that is a reward in and of itself.
Our core values are based on what is ethical, and we believe that ethics plays a central role in what this company is. In fact, we are the only funeral home in the state that has received the Ethics in Business Award. And that's really the way we try to operate our business every day, to be honest and ethical in everything we do.
Mr. French had a lot of strong values, and those carried forward through his grandsons and carried forward through other forms of leadership. And when we look for a new person to join our team, we need to first hire to those values. And so more than anything else in our company, it's finding people that have the same servant's heart and giving back not only to the people we serve, but in our community. And then we know we have nailed a match for what a team member needs to be at French. There's not a funeral home in the country that provides the same type of care for a loved one with the same integrity and the same servant's heart that French does in all parts of our company. And we have wonderful people. We have that drive to continually train, to continually learn, to innovate, and it's exciting to know that we are upholding the standards that Mr. French started in 1907 today.